I grew up on the south side of Atlanta in the 1960s and 70s. My family attended a typical Baptist church, conservative and loving. And the folks there taught me in Sunday school and Bible school and Royal Ambassadors to sing Jesus Loves Me and Jesus Loves All the Children of the World, all the little children of the world, red and yellow, black and white. They are precious in His sight. They taught me to be kind and gracious and compassionate to everyone. But Atlanta was also the hometown of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And in the hallways and the parking lots, I could hear the folks who taught me to sing Jesus Loves All the Little Children of the World say harsh and disparaging things about Dr. King. And because his news was local news, I would often hear outtakes of his speeches on local television news. And there was something in me, even as a 7, 8, 9-year-old boy, that knew Dr. King was right in a way those who said harsh things about him weren't. I made it through junior high school and high school basically believing that not to be a racist was simply to be kind and gracious to everyone, to be as kind to someone of color as I would be to my next door neighbor who was white. Then, not long after I started college, I finally read Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from a Birmingham jail. And at one point in that letter, where he addresses white moderate pastors who he's come to believe are more of a barrier to his movement than anyone else. At one point in that letter, he asked them to imagine what it's like to find your tongue twisted and your speech stammering as you seek to explain to your 6-year-old daughter why she can't go to the public amusement park that has just been advertised on television, and see tears welling up in her eyes when she is told that Funtown is closed to colored children, and see ominous clouds of inferiority beginning to form in her little mental sky, and see her beginning to distort her personality by developing an unconscious bitterness toward white people. That passage impacted me in a way that very few other things did at that time in my life, because I had grown up going to Funtown. And it had never occurred to me why I never saw black people there except as employees and janitors. It was at that point, just out of high school, that I began to understand that not being a racist has a lot more to it than simply being kind to people. It also has to do with taking down barriers and changing structures that keep people from flourishing in the ways that God intended. We hear a lot of talk these days about whether there's such a thing as structural or systemic racism. And of course there is. Kindness is necessary, but it's not sufficient. What we need is to join together in constructing reconstructing systems that enable everyone to experience equity, to have the opportunity to become all they have it in them to become. Maybe on this Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, we can recommit ourselves to that kind of work.